The former mayor of Surfside, Shlomo Danzinger, is now in the running for Miami-Dade mayor, a position he once endorsed Mayor Danilo Levine-Cava for. I sat down with the former mayor to talk about his decision to run and his vision for the county. Mayor Danzinger, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So you were mayor of Surfside for 2 years.
Yep.
You lost your re-election bid, and now you want to run for Miami-Dade County mayor. Why this and why now?
So I'll start with the why now. I think the opportunity is now. I believe the county has turned in the more conservative sense. I think it's time to, for us to, for our voices to be heard in the county. There was a lot that I saw as the mayor of Surfside, a lot of deficiencies within the county, within the way its governance is being handled right now, a lack of communication between the county and a lot of the municipalities there that is leading to a lot of bad initiatives, and that's something that I would like to address.
What are you most proud of that you were able to accomplish in those 2 years?
So there was a park that we waited 10 years to be built. We had to fund that and get that done, pull the trigger on it, along with 2 other parks that we did. One of them is actually dedicated to our sister city in Hialeah, and then we established a relationship with Shomron in Israel. Just, I guess, going outside the box of the little 8-block town was a big accomplishment for our town. The relationships that we built with our state partners, the funding that we brought in, these are record numbers that our city had never seen because we were always enclosed. Unfortunately, a lot of that recognition that came from the collapse, but it, opened up a lot of doors and allowed for us to be vocal and be heard, but we utilize that for the benefit of the town.
So what do you think happened this time around? If so much was accomplished in those short 2 years, what happened that they didn't vote you in again?
So there's a lot of people that don't come out to vote. I don't think people understand how important their vote is, especially in elections like Surfside, where I won by 35. I lost by, I think, under 100 votes. People don't realize the value. And I've seen the names of the people that came out and the ones that didn't, and there's hundreds of people, friends of mine, that just didn't think that their vote mattered. It's also like, it's a communication issue. There was a lot of controversy that seemed to come out of Surfside, a lot of it fabricated, and I just think the message hasn't been able to get out there. One of the things that I came in, when I came into Surfside, it was very volatile. I mean, we had commissioners, flipping each other off on the dais. One of the things that I committed to was to not play into that narrative. And one of the things that I attempted to do was to not initiate and continue with the media, right? Because if you don't have 2 sides arguing, it's not an argument, it's an allegation. So I stepped away. Whenever some allegation came out, I just stayed quiet. But unfortunately, that allowed the opposition to say whatever message that they wanted to say.
So let's talk about some of those messages and those allegations from that you were not transparent, that you were in the developers' pockets, that a commissioner's son was arrested and somehow you were responsible for that. Can you respond to any of those allegations? All right,
let's address them one by one.
Okay.
Transparency is, again, I don't think there was ever a mayor that was as transparent as I was. First of all, I was always available. I was in the office most of the time, most of the week. There was an email, I used to send out emails to the community, something that had been done like almost weekly. There was another email thread that I put out specifically to address transparency, which covered every phone call I made, every meeting I had throughout the week. It eventually became too tedious to put that together, but I did that for many months, just letting residents know what I was doing day to day. It was the first time ever that we did a State of the Town address. I did those every year that I was in office. And that allowed residents, the hope was to allow residents to see what we were working on, what we've done, and what we're working towards. As far as developers, to be in a developer's pocket, that is something you hear all the time in Miami. Working with the developers in the town, establishing a relationship is not a bad thing. It's a symbiotic relationship if you have the right development within your town. There were a couple of initiatives I came in with. One of them was lighting on the beach path, solar lighting, turtle-friendly. We had a developer contribute greatly towards that project who has already been approved. So they didn't need anything from the town. They just wanted to help beautify the town and make it better. Establishing the right relationships is important. Doesn't mean you're in anyone's pocket. I got nothing personally out of this. I got paid $1 a year with no health care. So one of the things I came in to do was to bring our meetings back into order. As I mentioned before, we had people flipping each other off, including commissioners. Our meetings were out of hand. They went nowhere. They went on till all hours of the night, and the agenda was never covered. So the job of the mayor is to be the chair and to run the meeting efficiently. The first thing I did is read Robert's Rules of Order, the town charter, the code of conduct, and I initiated those rules. Those were not my rules. I didn't write them. It was my job to enforce them. I never threw a commissioner out, as much as I would have loved to. There were members of the public that overstepped, that after repeated warnings had to be sent out, because at the end of the day, the business of the town has to be done.
And the commissioner's son that was arrested?
It was a former commissioner. Understand this was a young adult. He's not a child. He was a young adult. He is another resident who had felt free to flip off the commission, which again is, within your First Amendment rights. He's followed us home. I mean, I have a 10-year-old daughter. He'd follow us home. That escalated to other incidents, which ultimately ended up him shoving the vice mayor in town hall. So physical altercation, the police called the state attorney's office, an arrest was made. I happened to be in Tallahassee at the time. As much as people like to blame me, I was very far away from that. But I do support the reaction by the vice mayor. I don't think it's okay to start physical altercation with elected officials. I think it sets a very bad precedence in our town, which has already seen the conduct escalate.
Okay, so let's move on to Miami-Dade County Mayor. What is your vision for the county? What would you like to do? What has gone wrong, and what do you think you could make right?
So there's a couple of issues that I had seen gone wrong in my years. First and foremost is communication. The county mayor does not sit and coordinate and work with our other elected officials. In Miami-Dade County, there's 34 municipalities. Each municipality is very different, very unique, very diverse. You have Surfside, which is 8 blocks long. You have the city of Miami. You have Doral. You have Hialeah. These are big cities. You have Hollywood that has multi-million-dollar units on the beach that goes all the way to trailer parks. So the municipalities are very diverse, and we have a county that is not listening, but rather dictating. And a lot of those dictations, a lot of those policies are harmful for our counties and for our municipalities. One of them being the real estate market. One of the things that was trying to be pushed on us before it even became legislation from Tallahassee was development. We were told to allow developers to go higher and denser if they were going to do affordable housing. So that may work in different parts of Miami. It didn't work on a 6-block beach town that's 3 blocks wide. But when that's being pushed, eventually that became legislation, which is called Live Local, and we're seeing the ramifications of that. But I was alerted to that very early. But this all stems from when you have a mayor that is not working with the other local elected officials. And one of the things that really stand out, and what you've seen happen in some of the other states like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, is that lack of support for law enforcement. It was very surprising, but I mean, our current mayor has literally bent the knee, is photoed in her own things, for BLM, which, I think primarily the organization is opposed to law enforcement, and that sets a very bad message within Miami-Dade County.
And what do you think Miami-Dade County stands for right now, and what would you like it to stand for if you were to become mayor?
So Miami-Dade County stands apart from the rest of the state of Florida, which I think stands for freedom and constitutional rights, which is why we're seeing so many people flock down to South Florida and Miami. But at the end of the day, Miami-Dade County seems to have its own legislation. There's a lot of, I'm going to call it woke policies. We have a mayor that's tried to pull $2.5 billion loan, which would increase our taxes as residents at a time when we're struggling to pay our own home insurance, and losing our own homes. So these kinds of policies could be detrimental to the residents here. And that's something that has to be addressed. Homelessness, for example, $1.5 billion of that money was allocated to address homeless, on top of a $45 million budget already. You cannot just build homes for the homeless that doesn't address the issue. It has to be handled similar to a disease. You don't treat the symptoms, you treat the disease. And if you're not going to address the root cause of homelessness, which is substance abuse, mental health, if you're going to be putting money into housing them instead of addressing the issue, you'll never solve the problem.
Well, we wish you the very best. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.